Right now on the National Weather Desk, state of emergency. The long cleanup continues in the Pacific Northwest following days of relentless rain. The wet weather could also trigger landslides. We'll take a closer look at the warning signs. We'll also take a closer look at the different types of snow. Do you look to social media to find out how much snow could fall? We'll explain why many of those posts should not be trusted. Tips to help your four-legged family members enjoy winter even if they don't like the cold. Plus a daring rescue of goats stuck on the side of a mountain and a bear who has no problem opening car doors.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. The weekend is shaping up to be a wet, stormy, and even snowy one in some places. A storm system is moving into the East Coast tomorrow, impacting everyone living in the Southeast to New England. Meteorologist Brian Vandergraff is here with the details.
Heading into the weekend, an active pattern. We could have some stronger to severe weather through the deep south on your Friday, even into your Saturday. Warm Gulf plume, a potent front coming through, looking for severe weather potential down through portions of the deep south. Then through the back half of the weekend, some big time rains and talking about 1 to 2+ inches, some rumbles of thunder, maybe some flash flooding through portions from the mid-Atlantic up into the Northeast. And speaking of the Northeast, on the backside of this system, we're talking about snow overspreading portions from upstate New York right on into New England. This system will kick out of here early next week and be replaced with blustery cold air. Temperatures some 20 to 30 degrees cooler from Sunday into Monday. Hang on, it is what we call a weather whiplash headed our way.
Portions of Washington state remain under a state of emergency this morning, days after record floods left behind a huge mess. The floods were caused by an atmospheric river, and here's a great visual of how it came together. This is time-lapse satellite imagery starting on December 2nd, and it clearly shows how the term atmospheric river best describes the situation. The system forms in the Pacific Ocean and moves east. All that blue you see is rain falling on Washington and Oregon. Paul Rivera is in Snohomish County with more on the start of the long cleanup.
This is where the town of Stanwood made their stand. If you don't block it here, water's coming to town.
This is the wall of earth that Mayor Sid Roberts said was quickly put together to keep the floodwater away from Stanwood.
And when we got the call, all hands on deck.
When you look over the wall, you see everything that it was holding back. An expanse of water stretching over Marine Drive, the Stillaguamish River somewhere off there in the distance, and homes among the floodwater.
Doing this kind of was the big, stop point for the wall of water.
Roberts said it worked, and the town was mostly spared from serious flooding. That said, there was plenty of water to pump out.
This is definitely the worst I've seen it.
It was all the way up again.
Nisha Plesha with the local American Legion stopped by the building to see if they took on water.
It doesn't appear to be any water damage inside. If you notice, we have a flat roof, unfortunately, so we have had some leaks in the past. We've tried to fix all of those leaks, and I guess we'll see what happens with the roof now.
Still in the assessment phase, they're going to have to take a closer look as this water goes down. That's also something the Snohomish County Department of Emergency Management will need to do. Right now, they're looking to get any damage reports from residents or businesses. They said this water will stick around at least over the next few days, but it is expected to recede.
Dramatic drone video shows a river rescue in Snohomish County. A man called 911 late Wednesday night to report he was in a boat getting swept away in the raging Snohomish River. The current pushed him into the Snohomish River. Rescuers staged downstream, where they were able to throw the man a rope from an overpass. As he grabbed the rope, he got thrown into the river, where he grabbed onto a tree until rescuers could reach him. He was taken to the hospital to be checked out. The Seattle area has seen its share of landslides this week after getting drenched with rain. Meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell has some warning signs a landslide is about to happen.
Well, hi there, everybody. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell here in the Pacific Northwest, where we are known for our landslide risk. We get a lot of rain. We've got a lot of topography surrounding Seattle and Tacoma, both sides with the Cascades and the Olympics and a lot of local hills. We get a lot of rain. In fact, we've actually been dry most of the season, but had a lot earlier this week, courtesy of the old Pineapple Express, and some of the hillsides indeed started coming down. This was one of the muddy spots there. This is normally one of our most popularly belated trails here, the Burt Gilman Trail in the Seattle area, covered with mud and a temporary closure there with people surveying the scene because some of that hillside came on down. Now, there are lots of signs that you're about to endure a landslide, and these are some of the warning signs just so you don't end up in a dire situation. One of the first things to look for, and we saw that happen near the Burt Gilman earlier this week, the tilting of the trees, especially the evergreens on the slopes. They do tend to give way a little bit easier than the deciduous trees, so that's something that's definitely a warning sign. Sign number 2 would be the formation of cracks in your yard, maybe your driveway, your sidewalk. The foundation's starting to tilt a little bit. Not a good sign either. How about warning sign number 3? This is a big one. A lot of people reported this when we've had some of the bigger landslides around here, including Oso, pretty famously, nearly 10 years ago as we head into the 2020s here. The sudden difficulty of opening or closing doors and windows. That's a sign that things are getting awfully tight in your home. And if you live near a hillside, that is definitely something to keep in mind. Sign number 4, and this is one of the biggest of them all, and one of the signs that that landslide might be coming up soon. Sagging utility lines or leaking or broken water pipes. If you smell gas and you've had a lot of rain lately, that's something to look out for as well. For the National Weather Desk, I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell.
Snow is falling once again in California's Sierra Nevada mountains. This was the scene yesterday in the small community of Kingvale, about 20 miles northwest of Lake Tahoe. This area typically gets a lot of snow, and this certainly wasn't the first snowfall of the season. But one driver said the storm moved in quickly, dropping snow in a short amount of time.
I came up yesterday, had to do some winterizing at the cabin, and it was bone dry. I was a little nervous with the storm coming in, and we had gone to go back down the hill by 1 o'clock, and the weather had started to change. We had some unfinished business, came back up today, and it's completely different.
Meteorologists use radar to track different types of weather, from rain to hail to snow, but sometimes they detect other things. Meteorologist Ryan Mirando explains.
Radars are such an awesome technology that we have, but they can even dive deeper past the rain and the storms that we usually use them for. This is what the radar looked like over downtown Macon, that green. It looked like there was a shower that was passing through, moving to the north over a few minutes. This, though, was not a shower. This was actually smoke from a fire. Well, how is the radar really able to tell that? It all has to do with how they work. If you went out to a site, you'd see a tall tower and a dome on top of that. The radar is actually in that dome kind of to protect it from the elements, and it's constantly scanning the environment for any kind of particles that are out there. Of course, it sees the rain, it sees the storms, but also it can see birds and smoke particles from fire. So when the smoke was burning, the radar sends out a pulse of energy. It collides with those particles, sends it back to the radar, and that's what we're detecting.
Lock your doors is something local police departments say all the time because you never know who could be lurking around trying to get into your car. On Thursday morning, it was a bear. It walked up to this SUV in Camp Nelson, California, easily opening the door, took a peek inside, then went on its way. A real cliffhanger in the mountains of southeast Tennessee, where a risky rescue took place this week. The target, a group of 4 goats stranded on the side of a mountain. Members of the community reached out to local emergency services, asking them to help get the goats down. They had been there for 2 weeks, and unlike mountain goats, these goats were not very adept at traversing the ledge. We are happy to report the crews were able to get the goats off the mountain and onto the level ground. Pacific Northwest photographers have been getting quite a show this fall from transient orcas that frequent Puget Sound. These are different than the orcas that live in the region. The transient orcas only hunt marine mammals like seals. The resident orcas rely primarily on Chinook salmon. Over 350 of the transient orcas have been identified so far, but experts say they live separate lives from the permanent residents. And check out this whale sighting on the other side of the country. A group fishing off the coast of Kiowa Island in South Carolina shot this video of whales and dolphins swimming together. Both are common in that area this time of the year, but seeing them together and this close is a rare sight. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll show you how to find reputable snow forecasts online and ways you can safely spend time outdoors with your dog in the cold winter months.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. We have a lot of sun on the way today. It's a nice looking day in the Northeast with temps in the 30s. Some 40s are possible in northern New Jersey, southern New York. Notice more clouds moving in tonight and into tomorrow. It's probably going to end up being a mostly cloudy day for a good chunk of the Northeast on Saturday and again on Sunday. Now, our next weather maker will arrive late Sunday, Sunday night, and into Monday morning. And that one's going to bring some heavy rain, some snow in New York, and some strong winds in New England.
I'm meteorologist Jasmine Lomax with a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. We're in for a gorgeous day and a great start to the weekend. Starting off with sunshine around the region for the morning, then for the afternoon, still looking at plenty of sunshine. A few more clouds will start to move in overnight, but overall, a pretty quiet pattern as we head into the first part of the weekend. Temperatures this afternoon will reach the 40s, 50s, and the 60s. Then overnight, we cool down to the 30s and 40s.
I'm meteorologist Vitas Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs for the day. 64 Nashville, 65 Tupelo, Atlanta right around 62 degrees, 69 in Pensacola, 78 in Tampa, 76 West Palm. A little bit of sun and clouds across parts of the Carolinas as you look further west around Mississippi, the Mississippi River. Looks like we have more clouds and a few spotty showers and thunderstorms that will develop. Maybe a few heavy ones at times as we go through the afternoon, but for the most part, we'll see some spotty showers associated with a front moving through the southeast.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Portions of the country got snow this week from the Pacific Northwest through the Rockies to the Carolinas, but not all snow is the same. Meteorologist John Gum looks at the 3 different types of snow.
One of the biggest questions we tend to get asked as meteorologists as we enter the winter months after a big rainfall is how much snow would all of that rain have been if it were snow? Well, the answer to that is usually pretty complicated. Let's take 1 inch of rainfall, for instance, here in the rain gauge. That 1 inch of rainfall can equal different amounts of snow depending on how cold the temperature is. So, for instance, let's take a temperature of 34 degrees. At 34 degrees on the surface, it's a little colder aloft, with 1 inch of rain, we could see about 5 inches of snow. That would be a very wet snowfall, a 5-to-1 ratio. Okay, so think of those big wet snowflakes when the temperature at the ground is above freezing. However, when it's about 30 degrees, say it gets just a little bit colder outside, well, that 1 inch of rainfall can equal about 10 inches of snow. That's a 10-to-1 ratio. That is pretty typical on average of any given snow. So that's the answer we usually give, a 10-to-1 ratio. But again, it all depends on the temperature. Now, let's say we get a little more snowfall with colder temperatures. Okay? 1 inch of rainfall at 18 degrees can be about 20 inches of snow. That is a dry snow, those little flakes of snow, and that snow weighs a whole lot less. So how much rain equals snow? Well, the answer can be pretty complicated depending on exactly what the temperature is as we vary from a wet snow to a dry snow. And what makes forecasting these snowfall amounts even trickier is the fact that during big snowstorms, these ratios constantly change during the course of the storm. And that makes the forecast much trickier on the snowfall end of things in the winter months.
When snow is about to fall, it's not hard to find a forecast, but not all forecasts are legit. Just like everything else on social media, you need to check the source. Salt Lake City meteorologist Lindsay Storrs tells our Emily Gracie the biggest red flag is when someone shares snow totals more than a week before the event.
Computer models that we look at when we're determining the forecast, they get very inaccurate that many days out. If you're talking 2-3 days out, there's much more accuracy in that than there is in something that is 7 to 10 days out. Also, another way that you can determine if what you're looking at is legitimate or not is to look and see if there's a little blue check mark next to the account you're looking at. Many of your reputable meteorologists will have that blue check mark from Facebook to let you know that it is a legitimate source that you can pay attention to. Legitimate meteorologists are not going to post things like snow totals for a storm 10 days out because we know how inaccurate the computer models can be and the data can be on storms that far out.
What are some realistic expectations that folks should have from a snow forecast?
It is very hard to predict the exact snow total that you are going to get at your house. So meteorologists generally give ranges. It'll be like 3 to 6 inches of snow. Now that means you could be anywhere in that. You could get 3 inches exactly. You may even get a little less than 3 inches, or you could get 6.1. It's really just a generalization to let you know, give you an idea of what to expect as far as snow totals, but they are definitely not exact. I like to compare winter weather forecasting to playing Plinko on The Price is Right. If you watch a Price is Right contestant, they got that Plinko chip at the top. There's lots of different areas where that chip could go. But as the Plinko chip drops and as you get closer to the bottom of the Plinko board, there's fewer and fewer solutions as to where that little Plinko chip could go. The same is true with winter weather forecasting. When we're 10 days out, there's a lot of different options on how that storm could play out. Each day as we get closer to that storm, we're able to narrow down how much snow we're going to get, the exact track it's going to take, and we'll have a much better idea of how it's going to play out for your part of the country.
Do you warm up your car in the winter before driving? It's more popular than ever, especially since so many vehicles have remote start. But is this a good idea? Meteorologist Christina Ernie talked about this topic in a recent TikTok.
On a cold morning like today, you might want to run outside to your car to warm it up, or even press your remote car starter to warm it up. But is it actually safe for your car to leave it idling? Let's bust some myths. According to several automotive makers, cars made pre-1980 actually did suffer a bit if they were left idling or were left warmed up before taking to the roads. And this actually has to do with oil lubricating the engine. Older cars took significantly more time to warm up due to their very basic fuel management system. But with cars made after 1980, that's not necessary. Experts say the engine warms up in 30 seconds to 1 minute. The fastest way to warm up the car is to drive it. They say in 30 seconds, a car engine can reach 40 degrees, which is warm enough to drive safely without adding extra wear and tear on the vehicle. Biggest downside of idling a car in the driveway is gas emissions. Money you're essentially losing. And just 1 gallon of gasoline actually produces 20 pounds of CO2 or greenhouse gas emissions, really bad for the environment.
And now we want to show you one of the beautiful sights that can come with cold winter mornings. Fern frost. Meteorologist Kristen Clark shows us what it is and how it forms.
When nature and art combine, cold mornings recently in Puget Sound have led to spectacular patterns of frost resembling ferns and flowers. When water from the air lands on a really cold surface like a car windshield, water molecules freeze instantly to form patterns of ice crystals. Sometimes the water molecules form into one big sheet of frost, but tiny imperfections in the glass or a speck of dust gets in the way, forcing the molecules to branch out into different directions and shapes that to us look like feathers and ferns. Mathematicians call this fractal design, and it can be observed throughout all of nature. But I got to admit, the fern frost and the ice flowers are by far my favorite.
If you want to see more content like this, be sure to check us out on social media where we post the latest content from our meteorologists across the country. You can find us on all of your favorite platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Just search the National Weather Desk. Time now for a short break, but first let's take flight over the mountains of Aspen, Colorado.
Well, good Friday, everyone. I'm meteorologist Phil Kelly. Most of us dealing with these nice mild temperatures across the Midwest, upper 50s to low 60s today, with some cold air lurking back into the Dakotas. That's going to be a big factor as we go through the weekend. It'll bring rain showers first Saturday into the Ohio Valley, back into Chicagoland, but some snow showers back into Minnesota. Cold air rushes in for your Sunday, but it does look to dry out.
Good Friday morning to you. Meteorologist Chris Sechan looking at our forecasts across the region, and our next weather maker, cold front, is on the way, pushing across the North Texas Panhandle, Oklahoma, with gusty winds behind it. You'll really see it dropping up those temperatures Saturday as it moves south and east across the region. Could get some heavy thunderstorms from East Texas, Louisiana to Arkansas, and the 6 to 10 day outlook. Do want to point out Oklahoma, Texas forecast for above normal rainfall.
Well, hi there and good Friday morning to everybody. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Out west, we are behind our atmospheric river and cooling all the way back down in Seattle and Portland. Mid to upper 40s in the Emerald and the Rose City this afternoon, with more in the way of sun and fewer showers through the western side of the Pacific Northwest. Just 35 in Salt Lake, 72 out of the Valley of the Sun. Denver still warm enough, but the snow is on the way. That's our next weather maker. That could start to snarl some airline travel over the Mile High City later today, and then eventually more rain for Seattle and Portland this weekend. And that's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Some dogs love to play and exercise in the cold and snow, others not so much. As veterinarian Devin Smith explains, as long as you take the proper precautions, winter can still be a great time to get outdoors with your pooch.
Just because the weather may be getting colder doesn't mean that you can't have fun with Fido. In fact, many dogs love and enjoy a romp in the cold just as much as some people. It can be so exhilarating. This is where it's important to get to know your pet and his or her preferences. Certainly, some breeds like Huskies or Bernese Mountain Dogs thrive in colder weather. However, this doesn't mean that shorter coated breeds like Vizslas can't have fun. They just may require some wardrobe assistance in the form of a sweater or a jacket to help keep them warm. Now, if your pet hates the cold but has a lot of energy, look for indoor swimming pools for pets, which are great ways to exercise your pet in the winter without having to be outside. Connect with us at our station website by looking up For Pet's Sake. We'd love to see your favorite pet moments that you can share with our community. Go to our news app, click Explore, chime in and upload your pet-tastic photos.
I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great Friday. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you right back here on